Morning Scramble and your local Ingles market.
It's the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan.
Well, it is the Saturday Morning Scramble because it is Saturday at 8 a.m. and we are live at 1500 Gear Highway and Travelers Rest at your Ingles Markets, TR. We love being at your local Ingles Markets, and we'd love to see you this morning as well. If you're out and about in the area, we are out here. We are here, as they say, at Ingles Markets. 42 of you already watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as you can do if you didn't know that. That's right. You can watch the show. Also, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, the free Odyssey app, as well as the iHeartRadio app. Alex Guest to my right. I'm Cole Bryson, and week one is in the books. What a night of high school football last night. We're going to talk about it with you this morning. We hope to hear from you right here on the Fan Upstate. If you were at a game last night, let us know at 844-326-3663. If you were following a game, let us know which one you were following as well. I want to hear from you, whether you're watching or listening to the show from. Now 53 of you already on the stream watching the show. If you're a slow riser, you can throw us on the smart TV on YouTube. Just search the Fan Upstate. We'd love to have you join us this morning. Alex, I can't recall, a week. You and I have been doing this show for a few years now. I can't recall a week looking back at the scores where we had so many upsets that we just didn't see coming. It's not the fact that we got that I got eight games wrong, something like that. Yeah. It's not the fact that we got 8 or 9 games wrong. It's the fact that some of these games you and I would have looked at and said, there's absolutely no way Team A loses to Team B, but we did last night. How do we do record-wise?
Yeah, you were 19-8 last night. I was 21-7.
Oh.
You don't pick the Burns games, so I kind of had like a game and a half on you, but something I don't know, baseball standings or something.
Game and a half. But that's a good night. 21-7 from you, 19-8 from me last night.
You still have the overall season record.
By one.
40-15
on the season. You're 39-17. I really didn't think I would get 8 games wrong last night, and that's where I go back to my point. As long as we've been doing this show, you look back at some of the teams that lost last night, you couldn't have convinced me. No, you couldn't have convinced me. For example, let's talk about the ones that we lost. Greenville Riverside. I told you yesterday, and I did tell you when I did my weekly predictions on Wire to Wire, I said there's no way in my mind that Riverside will come out there and lose, much less play that poorly against Greenville. They did, by the way. Greenville absolutely ran roughshod over Riverside. Hillcrest Clover, you picked Clover. I thought Hillcrest would go up Highway 5 on the road and get it done. Didn't get that done. Bowling Springs Malden, another example of if you would have told me Bowling Springs lost to Malden last night, I'd have said, nah, man, no shot. No shot. Bowling Springs loses to Malden. So hats off to Andre Cook, his staff, his team.
Absolutely.
Alex, that's a huge win.
Huge win. And we talked about it on the preview last night during Burns halftime. About how Malden's on the up and up, but I still felt like it was going to be another couple of years before they beat a team like.
We also said that last night during the halftime preview that we did, we also said that game was a little bit closer than we expected it to be with Malden and Bowling Springs. I thought Bowling Springs would pull away. They didn't. Another one, Daniel Stratford last night. I said, I think I'm pretty confident that they're going to beat Stratford, right? That didn't happen. No, Stratford took down Daniel. They are human, I guess. Walhalla Pickens, you picked Pickens, I picked Walhalla, so you got that one right. I got it wrong. We both picked Keenan over Pendleton, but Pendleton had a nice bounce-back win, so you and I both got that one wrong. Abbeville lost a football game. Breaking news. Since when? It's time to fire some coaches down there, right?
Yeah, it's Rudy Nichols. I mean, he's been there way too long. He shouldn't be coaching in his what he is.
I mean, I could not believe I saw that score. How about Pottersville, though? A big win.
Huge win.
Over Abbeville last night. St. Joseph Chapman. You picked Chapman. I picked St. Joseph. Yeah. And then Chesney Broome. We looked at that game after a big win for Chesney in week 0, Alex, where they defeated Pendleton we both said, yeah, I like Chesney tonight. And boy, was that maybe one of the best games of the night. Chesney, Broome, Alex goes to overtime, and Broome wins by 1 point. That one surprised me as well.
Yeah, that one's a big surprise. But, and at one point in that game, I think Chesney had a pretty good lead on Broome. I was trying to keep up with it through Twitter and all the different sources, and I think Chesney had a decent lead on Broome, and then next thing you know, Broome starts to make a comeback, and second half and then overtime, Broome just able to get it done. I think I heard Chesney got the score, went for the 2-point conversion in overtime, and failed the 2-point conversion.
We'll talk about the game you were at. We'll talk about the game that I was at that you heard right here on the Fan Upstate as well. A lot to get to. So many scores from last night. 29 total games in week one. If this is your first time listening to the Saturday Scramble, number one, we appreciate you doing so. Number two, I want to remind you, Saturday Morning Scramble each and every Saturday brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union as well as Ingles Markets. We're live this morning at Ingles. It is 1500 Gear Highway, Travelers Rest, the Ingles we're at. I felt like this Ingles was out in the middle of nowhere this morning trying to get here, Alex. I took the good old-fashioned Highway 11 to 414 to 25 like I was back in my college days coming up to Tigerville. This is Travelers Rest, but I feel like when you turn, you're going away from Travelers Rest.
Yeah.
But this is still considered TR, right?
Yeah, still TR, but, Furman is Greenville, but it is basically TR, so, but no, yeah, I think for both of us, although it took you significantly longer than me to get here, I'm in the southern part of Greenville County down in Fountain Inn, and it still felt like I was going in the middle of nowhere to get here.
So. This is a fun Ingles, man. It's a nice Ingles. It is fantastic. And like I said, if you're out and about in the area, let us know. Swing by, say hello. And you know what? This Ingles
will sign autographs.
No, I'm not doing that today. This Ingles, not all of them do this, Alex Guest, but this Ingles has breakfast.
Yeah.
Come on. You can't beat it.
Biscuits and gravy, sausage, bacon, eggs, grits.
You cannot beat it with a stick, man. It's fantastic. A big show coming your way. We've got some winners coming up on the show today in terms of head coaches. We are going to be joined in 7 minutes by Scoot Watson, the head football coach at Greenville. And Alex, we talked about all these upsets last night, all these big wins. I don't know that any of them are bigger than what Scoot Watson and Greenville did over Riverside. We'll start there. Gideon Merritt, few interceptions last night. Riverside was a completely different team last night than they were in week 0. And I think that's one of the biggest stories from last night in week 1 is that Riverside, as good as they looked in week 0, they didn't look great in week 1. And on the flip side, Greenville, as bad as they looked in week 0 against Dorman, they looked really good in week 1 against Riverside. So hats off to them. That's a big win for Scoot Watson and those Red Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about as bad as they looked last week against Dorman, they got shut out 34-0, and then they turned that right back around. They get a shutout over a very good, mind you, Riverside team, 28-0 over Riverside, and what a great first win for Scoot Watson. Obviously,
that's right.
Obviously, you wish you could have got that last week, but you were going up against a real tough Dorman team, and to be able to do what you did to a Riverside team that kind of put up close to video game numbers last week,
No doubt. So, Scoot Watson getting his first career win as head coach at Greenville. Donnie Littlejohn getting his first career win as head coach at Gaffney. A couple of firsts last night. Again, we'll be joined by Scoot Watson in about 6 minutes. But before we do that, before we forget, let's take a look at the scores from last night. 29 games, Alex Guest. Let's hear what happened in week 1.
Yeah, of those 29 games, I think there was only one good game, and it was the one you were at.
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. I will say this. I told you last night, I've seen a lot of high school football games in the 13 years I've been broadcasting. I was trying to think last night seriously. I think last night was, I don't know if I put it top 10, but it's close to top 10. It was
Where does it rank on the EA Instant Classic? Okay.
It was an incredible football game, man. If you paid I even had to ask Lane last night. I forgot how much a high school. I don't know how much a high school.
Like $8.
$8, yeah. If you paid your $8 worth, you got your money's worth last night because that was an incredible game. We'll get into that. Burns came out on the wrong end of it. Irmo, man, such a good football team. I was so impressed. I heard some audio from Coach Aaron Brand after the game, and those guys, man. They are they fought their tails off. I did not realize until I heard the audio, Aaron Brand, as good as they were last night, and as much as I talked about how good they were got the starting running back last night.
Oh my God!
What in the world?
Oh my God!
Irmo get all this? I mean, Alex, they played for a state championship. I don't know if they will be lower state, if they're lower state again this year. If they are, go ahead and put them in the state championship again. I have them getting there. By the way, there's our first LSU jersey fighting. I did not have on my bingo card for today us seeing an LSU jersey in the upstate before we saw a Clemson show.
It was a Joe Burrow.
How about that?
Jersey,
How about that? All right, nonetheless, what happened last night?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Wren, a big win for Wren in their backyard brawl with easily 50-21 as the final in that game. We mentioned it, Greenville, a 28-0 win over Riverside. Greenwood got a 48-8 win over visiting Beaufort. Man, what a long bus ride back to Beaufort after a just walloping that you take from Greenwood. Clover and Hillcrest, things get a little bit of wonky when you get on the other side of the Broad River from here. And, Clover takes the 30-21 win over Hillcrest. Donnie Littlejohn gets his first win as Gaffney's head coach, 28-0 over J.L. Mann. Malden defeats Boiling Springs 21-14. Seneca a 49-7 win over Woodmont. Game we were just mentioning, Irmo got the 35-32 win over Burns at the new Nixon Field. Dorman a 30-7 winner over Catawba Ridge out of the Rock Hill area. Eastside knocks off Carolina 62-8. Dutch Fork got a big win over Spartanburg last night, 54-21. Just a rough start for Spartanburg, having to play two defending state champions. Blue Ridge, 29-15 winners over Wade Hampton. Emerald knocks off Travelers Rest 28-7. Woodruff 46-27 winners against Fountain Inn. Clinton blanks Lawrence last night 50-0. Liberty 61-14 over Southside. Landrum blanks Berea 39-0. Stratford comes up from the lower state. They get a win at Daniel 42-26, the final in that game. Belton Hunter Path defeats Greer 42-19. Pickens, a big win. They hang 70 on Walhalla, 70-28, the final on that one. Crescent 21-6 over Palmetto. Pendleton, a 19-0 win over Keenan. Christchurch got a 41-6 win over the Anderson Cavaliers, a homeschool association team. Powdersville upsets Abbeville 36-22 at Abbeville. Mountain View a 43-14 win over Southside Christian. St. Joe's got a 1.35-34 win over Chapman. East Rutherford out of North Carolina, 41-6 over Blacksburg. And Bloom, a 35-34 overtime win over Chesney.
How about that? Those, ladies and gentlemen, are your scores from week one last night. Wayne on Facebook stream says, morning, fellas. Went to the Wade Hampton Blue Ridge game. Good game back and forth, Wayne. Number one, appreciate you watching the show, as 77 others are doing this morning, either on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Wayne, I was following that one, and if I'm not mistaken, Wade Hampton had a lead at one point in the second half. Blue Ridge came back, so it sounded like a really good a really good game last night that you were at over there, Wayne. Kyle says, good morning. Stu B on Twitter says, Riverside losing to Greenville is not crazy. I picked Greenville hands down. Well, Stu, you're a lot smarter than we are, man. You really are. I just thought Riverside, the momentum they had after week 0 with the weapons, especially talk about guys like Speedy Taylor back healthy and Gideon Merritt coming off of a big win. I thought it would be a lot closer than what it was last night. So a big win nonetheless for Greenville. And again, we're going to be joined by Coach Scoot Watson here in about 1 minute. John back in the Ingles Market Studios will route him through in just a few moments. But a lot of good games last night. We will get to our picks for next week, or early leans, if you will, coming up in hour number 2 of the show. But a big show coming your way as every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m., Alex Guest and myself talk about the games that happened last night. And just as a quick reminder, Alex did get me last night 21-7 on his weekly picks. 19-8 is what I went last night. I am now at 40-15 on the season. You're at 39-17. What game would you say surprised you the most last night?
Well, Cole, I think there's two of them that really kind of just stand out for me, and one of them is the one we just mentioned is Greenville Riverside. I, along with you, thought Riverside, with all the momentum coming off of last week's win, and then I think the other one that really just stands out is the Powdersville game. I think for me, that was a game that Abbeville won pretty single-handedly last year. Didn't really struggle with it. And granted, I realize that 2024 is not the same as 2025, but I think Abbeville, or I thought Abbeville was a much better team than Powdersville, but it's like we mentioned last week, Robert Muster. It seems like they lose the first game of the season and then rattle off 17 wins in a row after that.
They're always. I said it. They're very similar to Greer in the way that they schedule non-region. You know what I mean? They always want to have those tough out-of-conference, out-of-region games, if you will. Let's go to the phone lines where we bring in our very first guest of the show this morning on the Fan Upstate. He is the head football coach, Scoot Watson of the Greenville Red Raiders. Coach, first of all, congratulations not only on your win last night, being a big win in the regular season. You'll take it all day long, but really congratulations on your first career win as the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Absolutely. Honored to have you on the show. We always appreciate your time, Coach. Talk about the win last night. Riverside, a good football team who came off of a big performance in week 0. I mean, you guys go out last night and handle business. Preparation-wise, you and your staff, going into the game, did you feel like it could be as lopsided as it was last night?
Not necessarily. We had a great week of practice. Made some critical adjustments, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and we kind of reaped those rewards last night. But the kids, they responded well during the week. And it translated last night in the game.
No doubt. It sure did, as we're joined by Scoot Watson, the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders. What was it schematically, Coach, that you looked at from Riverside early in that game that you really felt like gave you guys an advantage?
Probably the offensive line.
Okay.
Our defensive line, they didn't really play up to par against Dorman, and our defensive line coaches, Coach Purdy and Corey Carson, they really dropped the hammer on those kids during the week, and got them to respond, and we kind of took advantage of them a little bit up front last night.
Coach, you guys schedule pretty tough non-region even before the season starts with some of your scrimmages and who you play in the preseason, and then Dorman last week. Going into last night's game, did you feel like your guys had been tested so many times already, even though you've only played one game, that they were going to be up for the challenge last night? Coach, did we lose you? You still there? Might have lost Coach. See if John can check on that. Try to get Scoot Watson. Let's see. I don't know if we lost him for a second. He might have went to a dead spot. We'll try to get Coach Watson back on the line. John, just let us know if we get him back on. I don't know if the call dropped or what, but nonetheless, a very big win for Scoot Watson last night of the Greenville Red Raiders. First win, as Alex, as we mentioned, is his first win as head coach of Greenville. And now, you look at these teams in Greenville County, the parity. We've talked about it many, many times, but, I look at Greenville as a place that's, an opportunity for Scoot Watson to come in and build something special. He did it J.O. Man. It didn't take long at all for him to do it there. And if he can keep stacking wins like this, man, a big win like he had last night, it might not take long to get Greenville back to where they were, because the last couple of seasons, Greenville just wasn't what we used to what we came to know under Greg Porter.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. And I mean, lost my train of thought. I think it happens to everyone. But I mean, Scoot Watson, we saw what he did at J.O. Man. I mean, he had them in the Upper State Championship going down to the wire with Dutch Fort, 2 seasons ago? So, I mean, Scoot Watson is a very good coach. He's got things obviously headed in the right direction for Greenville. And you heard him mention it. I mean, he felt like there were just some miscues last week that they needed to improve on, and they always say the biggest improvement is between your first game and your second game. And I mean, you turn things around from getting shut out 34-0 last week. You shut out your opponent 28-0 this week, and again, we mentioned it. It's a very good Riverside team that they got the win against last night.
No doubt about it. And Scoot Watson just texted me and said, sorry about that. He did lose signal. So, John, he'll call us back if he gets better signal. So we'll try to get Scoot Watson back on in a few minutes. If not, we'll catch up with him very soon. Appreciate his time and effort this morning. Take our first break of the show. We'll continue the conversation. Let us know if you were at a game last night. What stood out to you? We'll also be joined by Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Wolverines, John Boggs, the head football coach at Blue Ridge. A lot of winners this morning on the Saturday morning scramble right here on the Fan Upstate.
The offer is valid until October 15th.
High school football rules. on
Mike is hot
Saturday
in
morning
3
show.
seconds. Mike is hot.
Upstate.
Continuing the conversation right here on the Fan Upstate, we've got Scoot Watson, the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders, back on with us. We had a couple of technical issues, so, Coach, appreciate you hanging through there with us. I want to ask you, Coach, when it comes to players that made the big plays last night, for those that weren't at the game, talk about some of those players that not only made big plays last night, but you expect to continue making those big plays this season.
Keyshawn Farrell, sophomore quarterback. I mean, he did a phenomenal job last night, just managing the offense. Made some real good throws. Did well with his legs. You know, on defense, Julian Rendrick, you know, he had about 4 sacks last night. So he did an awesome job coming off the edge. You know, just really the offensive line as a whole did a real good job last night too.
Coach, you talk about your quarterback. For somebody that hasn't seen him play, how would you describe his play at the quarterback position?
It kind of puts you in mind of what's the guy in Arizona, the little short quarterback in Arizona?
Kyler Murray?
A little Kyler Murray.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, obviously not quite at that skill
Sure.
level, but you know, has you know, deceptive arm talent, you know, good speed, you know, made some real good decisions, you know, just real quiet kid. I mean, but he's electrifying, man. He's electrifying.
Yeah.
And he's only gonna get better. He's only gonna get better, you know. So, you know, really excited about Keyshawn.
Coach, when you got to Greenville and you met Keyshawn, what were the conversations in terms of development, what he could be for this program? Because I'm sure when you take over a program like Greenville, like you did, you want to find a guy that you can ride with for a couple of years, right, at the quarterback position. Talk about how you and him kind of worked through those early conversations when you first got to Greenville.
Well, you know, we weren't sure if he was going to play quarterback or play in the slide or play running back. You know, he's an athlete. You know, he's a elite basketball player. You know, so he's just an athlete. You know, so we weren't sure if he would win the starting QB job. You know, but you know, this past week he had a real good week. You know, especially with us struggling the way that we did on offense versus Stormy. You know, he really came in and, you know, kind of injected some life in our offense.
Coach, you mentioned that Dorman game, week 0, and I think this is the question I asked you earlier when we lost you. What did your guys learn from that Dorman loss that you think helped you guys last night?
I mean, you have to be disciplined. You know, you have to be disciplined. You can't turn the ball over, you know, 5+ times and, you know, have 15 penalties and even be able to compete, you know, with an elite program, a traditional program like Dorman.
Sure.
You know, they're going to capitalize on your mistakes. You know, those kids are used to playing at a high level. And, you know, our kids learned some valuable lessons last week, you know, and I'm just happy that they responded this week because that thing could have went either way.
No doubt about it. Coach Scoot Watson. Coach, before we let you go, we talked a lot about your offense. Defensively, you guys were really good last night as well. What went into that defensive game plan that allowed you guys to be so successful last night?
We made some adjustments on the back end. We took one of our safeties and moved him down to nickel. We took one of our, you know, bigger backers, you know, off of the field. You know, of course, Riverside had an unbelievable passing attack with Samad Edie and the quarterback there. So, you know, we really focused on taking him away, you know, and changed up our coverage a little bit and, you know, put a little faster package on the field. You know, kids did a good job of executing last night.
Well, Coach, again, congratulations on the win. Congratulations on your first win as the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders. We know there will be many more to come, and as always, we appreciate your time.
All right, thanks for having me, y'all.
Absolutely. Appreciate you as well. Scoot Watson, the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders. You heard him right here on the Fan Upstate. Alex, schedule-wise, before they get into region play, Greenville, we mentioned that they've been tested pretty good, even in the preseason. They you know, played some good competition in the preseason. They played Burns a couple of weeks ago. What's their remaining look like? I know they have a bye coming up here shortly, right?
Yeah, next week they host Gaffney, and then they've got the bye before heading into.
And that's it?
Yeah, and that's it.
Oh, so they have a little bit larger of a region.
Yeah,
Seven
one of those
teams?
8-team regions,
18.
so seven games.
Yeah. You know what? Look at that schedule, though. Greenville Red Raiders, first-year head coach Scoot Watson. You have Dorman, Riverside, Gaffney, non-region. You know, you could play some, no disrespect, some cream puffs, as Lane Fowler put it last night on our broadcast. But, man, I'll tell you this. Scoot Watson and those guys, they may come out 1-2, but guess what? They'll know what they have. They'll have learned a lot, because that was a big win last night, a really big win on the road. And you said that one next week's at Serene Stadium, right?
Serene Stadium, yep.
Region-wise, after that, who do they have after the bye?
Woodmont, J.O.Man, Easley, Greenwood, Malden, Hillcrest, T.O.
That's a tough region, man.
It is.
You just talk about I wouldn't necessarily say it's top-heavy, but there are some teams that could be tricky in there. Woodmont, has been on the rise for a couple of years. J.O.Man, first-year head coach, and Bryce Smiley, Easley, new coach there as well. Greenwood's going to be good. Malden had a big win over Bowling Springs last night. Hillcrest, we know they're a good football team, and T.L. Hanna, a good football team as well. It'll be interesting to see what Scoot Watson, Alex, I think that's a fun storyline to watch right there. What Scoot Watson in his first season at Greenville can do in his first year in that region. There could be a scenario, there could be a possibility where Greenville's competing for a region championship this season.
Yeah, well, and you got to think about it, Cole. Scoot Watson is no stranger to that region, because he was formerly at J.L. Mann, and J.L. Mann's in that region. So all of those coaches and schemes and everything are all familiar to Scoot Watson, and when it comes to game planning. But yeah, you got a different group of kids now that you're doing that with. So
we'll have Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines, join the show at 9 a.m. So if you are a Woodruff Wolverine fan or know somebody that is, let them know that we'll talk a little Woodruff Wolverine football at 9 a.m. Ricky on the Facebook stream says, good morning, fellas. Ricky, good morning to you. Appreciate you being a part of the show. As always, 108 right now watching the show, as you can on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll take a deep dive into some of these games as well. We've got John Boggs of Blue Ridge coming up very, very shortly on the show. Blue Ridge, one of our listeners mentioned it. It was Wayne early this morning around 8:02 or so, Alex. Blue Ridge with a little bit back-and-forth game last night against Wade Hampton. The one time I looked at that score in the second half, I think Wade Hampton had the lead, in fact. And Blue Ridge, Wade Hampton seemed to be a sneaky good game last night.
Yeah, it really was. And I looked at the score at one point, and I think it was, I think Wade Hampton was up 15-7 is what I saw. And, then Blue Ridge just kind of went on a run there in the second half.
Speaking of Blue Ridge, let's talk to their head football coach right now in the Saturday morning scramble on the Fan Upstate. John Boggs, the head football coach, joins us right here on the Saturday morning scramble. Coach, how are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm great. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic. I'm sure you're always better after a win, right?
Absolutely.
Saturday.
Make the whole week.
Yeah, I was going to say that Saturday morning's a little easier to wake up to after a big win. We were just talking about it, Coach. Walk us through last night, how it played out. Kind of a back-and-forth close game between you guys and Wade Hampton, but ultimately Blue Ridge able to come out on top last night.
Yeah, first of all, hats off to Coach Wright and his group over there. They've made tremendous improvement from week 0 going to week 1. And we were able to come out and take a 7-0 lead in the first half. And then they jumped back on us, and they tied at 7-7, and they were able to get they actually bought an extra point of 7-6. And then they got a safety late in the second quarter. And then we came out, and they scored early third to go up 15-7. And we were able to score later and go 2 and tied up 15-15. We turned it over on the very first our very first possession in the second half, and we tried to get a stop, and we're moving the ball, get a couple first downs, and we're fumbling our own territory and getting a short field, and we were able to punch that in. And then the kids fought hard. Kids battled all night, and I just feel God was able to had a couple touchdowns for us, and Alan McCoy also played inside linebacker. He very comfortable in midway through the fourth and against the lead, and we were just capitalized a couple big punt returns by God and Richard Bobbitt to go straight to a position where the being 29-15 lead, and they got a late score, and we had to throw it onside kick. So,
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, good crowd. Our community's always supported. We had a really good crowd over there last night. Student body was great. It's always got a great student section.
Yeah.
It was a good atmosphere. It was a lot of fun for everybody.
Coach, later on in the season, you guys might need that experience. Talk about what a win like that can do, not only a win, but a game where you have to go back and forth. You have to have, obviously, some breaks go your way, but also you have to make plays as your team did last night. What do you think that'll do for this team's overall confidence?
Well, anytime your very first game, you got so many guys. We've got a lot of guys that don't have a whole lot of Friday night experience, and so for them coming out, a lot of those first game jitters, it was obvious in the first half, just some of the mistakes we were making, some of the things we did, and then as the game went on, those guys seemed to kind of settle in. I thought really well played up that football last night. Late third, throughout the fourth quarter, so kind of seemed to get settled in and making some plays and stepping up. It was crucial because we've got some schools, got some older guys, they were able to kind of pull things together and be able to score, but then at the same time, some of the younger guys get those early jitters out of the way, and that nervousness to things should that's got going down the road.
We're joined by John Boggs, the head football coach of the Blue Ridge Tigers after a big win last night over Wade Hampton. For those that don't know, for those that weren't there, you talked about that great atmosphere. Who were some of the guys that really made plays, stepped up for Blue Ridge last night?
Well, we had Rylan McCoy on the defensive side. He's kind of our heart and soul at linebacker. He does a great job on he plays some running back for us. Corey Dodds, I think, scored 3 touchdowns last night for us on the offensive side. Had a big punt return in the second half that got things going. I think it was midway through the fourth quarter. Gavin Foster, the quarterback, he continues to play well. He's a 3-year starter, so for him, his experience is always key. It kind of helps to settle the other guys down. So Mitchell Bobbitt came in, had a couple big catches, big crucial catches for us. Big fourth down catch, and another catch to get down in scoring position later in the game. And Tyson did play a big catch for second 2-point conversion that tied the game 15. So just a lot of guys stepping up here. A lot of guys making plays on special teams. Hunter Johnson had some big hits on kickoff too. It was good to see him do it. So he had been with us before, and he took the year off last year, and it was really good to see him come back on the field. That was some fun. And we had some 4 years of a baseball player who decided to come out and test waters in football. I think he had a good time in his first Friday night in real life. And Hayden Crump on the defensive line had a big fortune with.
Coach, you mentioned that you guys had week 0 off. Do you like that? Do you prefer that, or would you rather have it another way?
Yeah, it's kind of different. I went several years as head coach where we always play week 0.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, it really seems so rushed, and you get that week off later. And sometimes if you've got some injuries or you've got some things you need to clean up, it's good to have that week off. But when you're trying to run a JV schedule, a varsity schedule, and trying to kind of service each other during the week and that sort of thing, it really, I like having the longer preseason because it really gives you some time to kind of do it in the first quarter last night at times, but it gives you some time to work on fundamentals and try to come out and really take some time to install and teach and try to work on the nuts and bolts of your offense and defense special teams rather than this week 0. It's just everything's so rushed. It's hard to get all your scrimmages in. To get a rain day here or a heat day there, and it really kind of rushes things. And of course, we ended up still losing the scrimmage this year with Lightning. We were supposed to scrimmage last week, and so that probably would have helped us till we got that in and actually had a game type scrimmage under the lights. And I got some of those some of the jitters out of the way also. But I kind of like having a longer preseason with school starting earlier now. You pour all that in together on top of that, and throw all that on top of the kids. We're trying to adjust the school starting early and getting preseason going and get football season started. It just gives you a little bit more time to kind of sit back and take a breath and kind of take everything a little bit at a time and take the time as you step ready.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, congratulations on the win last night. As always, we appreciate your time and best of luck next Friday against Polk County.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate what you guys do for high school football, and always good to talk to you.
Absolutely. You too, Coach. John Boggs, the head football coach at Blue Ridge. A big win for Blue Ridge last night over Wade Hampton. That game was at Wade Hampton, as he mentioned there. Final score, I just had it, and I lost it, Alex.
29-15.
29-15. How about that? You're quick with the scores, aren't you? If you just tuned in, we'll have a full list of all the scores for you again in hour number 2 of the program. Still a lot to get to. We've got to talk about the game Alex was at, the game I was at, and the game you were at. If you want to talk about the game you were at last night, phone lines, text line open, 844-326-3663, and our thoughts on everything else that happened. Brett Sloan of Woodruff joining us at 9 a.m., and maybe we'll have time to get to our picks this week. We hadn't had time in the past couple of weeks, but we'll continue the conversation next right here on the Fan Upstate.
by Founders
Mike is hot in 3 seconds.
This
Mike is hot.
97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
streaming everywhere on the Odyssey.
I want to say thanks to Scooter Watson of Greenville, John Boggs of Blue Ridge for joining us already this morning on the Fan Upstate. If you missed either one of those, you'll be able to go back in an hour or so from now, and maybe even less than that, and listen to those on the fanupstate.com. We'll have those podcasted for you by the hour number 1 and hour number 2. Again, it's the fanupstate.com. Let's get into the game that you heard right here on the Fan Upstate last night. Irmo Burns in 2024 delivered. Alex, as the Rebels went down to Irmo last night, the Irmo Yellow Jackets make the trip up to Duncan, South Carolina. Final score 35-32. Irmo on top. Burns scored 12 points in the first quarter to take a 12-7 lead. Irmo turned around and scored 14 in the second. Burns only scored 7. And then both teams went on to score 7 in the third and 7 in the fourth. And ultimately, that gave Irmo the 3-point lead there. You picked Irmo, so obviously you're not surprised by it. We talked about it last week. This was maybe one of the better games on the slate last night, Alex Guest, and it lived up to it.
Yeah, well, and you say that I picked Irmo. I picked Irmo, and in my mind, I was thinking it was probably going to be a one-score game. So, not really surprised at the way that the game turned out. Both teams, very good teams. I was surprised at, I had the chance to listen to you and Lane Fowler for probably the last 6 or so minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I was surprised at the way that Irmo was able to move down the field that last drive. And you mentioned it to me. I mentioned it to my wife on the way home in the car last night. And it just seemed like Irmo was kind of like a hot knife through butter.
It was the last drive. And I don't know if that's just because of Burns' defense being on the field a lot last night. I don't know if it's fourth quarter just not holding up. I don't know if it's because linebacker Jonathan Montgomery's injured. I don't know what the reason is, but in that last drive, Irmo just had their way with Burns, and they went right down the field and scored and took the lead and left very little time on the clock for the Rebels to do anything with. It's funny, Alex. I'll say this. You have so many people across the upstate, and some of these people that I'm talking about are involved in radio and sports media for other outlets who, say all these things during the week and try to act like they know what they're talking about. I had somebody tell me earlier this week, oh, man, Irmo lost a lot. They're so young. And this is a guy who's in sports radio for not obviously at the Fan Upstate, but Irmo's so young, man. Burns is going to win. I mean, and to see Irmo last night, I told a coach from Gaffney last night or this morning when I was talking to him about Irmo, every position, they're just stacked. It reminds me of a really good Gaffney team where they're just athletic in every position. If you think Irmo's young, you're an idiot. I mean, this Irmo team's not young. Irmo, guess what you can do now in high school football? You can transfer.
Yeah.
Their quarterback's a senior. Their wide receivers are senior. There's nothing young about a senior-led team at quarterback. I mean, this quarterback last night, by the way, Dre Dobson, not a spectacular night, but a really good night. 12 of 25, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. His longest was a 64-yard pass. As I said in the very first snippet of the show, I came away from last night's game so impressed with Irmo, and then I heard audio from Aaron Brand. Our starting running back wasn't playing tonight. He's hurt, so we were worried that. I'm like, good God. I mean, this team, I swear to you, Alex, this team is, well, we know they were really good a season ago. They lost by 3 in a walk-off field goal in Northwestern. You saw Northwestern and how good they were last year.
Yeah.
Just think Irmo got walked off on a field goal. And I know this isn't last year's Irmo team, but I'm telling you, man, Aaron Brand has got some dudes. Malik Miller was fantastic last night for Irmo on the ground. He had 8 carries for 123 yards. I don't know if you're good at math. That's 15.4 yards per carry. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Burns, they were really good last night as well. Trey Segura, 17 carries, 114 yards, 1 touchdown. He averaged 6.7 on the ground. Jacoby Fuller, 18 carries, 83 yards. He averaged about 4.5 per clip. Kane Rogers, 16 of 28 last night, 122 yards and a touchdown through the air. Chu Harris led the Rebels with 6 receptions and 97 yards and a touchdown. One of those was a 66-yard reception. But Burns played a really good game until the fourth quarter in my mind. And if you were listening, you heard us talk about this on the radio last night on the post-game show. Burns played good enough to win, but the fourth quarter is where the Rebels made way too many mistakes, self-inflicting. I start with penalties. You can talk about play calling and coaching, this and that, but I look at penalties last night. And, Alex, when you have the football up 3 or 4 points with an opportunity to go seal the deal, and all you're doing is hearing the beeps from the Mack truck that's backing up going the wrong way, penalty, 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 penalty. You cannot, in a fourth quarter against a good football team like Irmo, you can't have self-inflicting wounds in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying the first 3 quarters aren't important, but when you're in a close game, we talked about it on the air last night. I bet we said it a million times. For week 1, Alex, that was as good of an environment. It felt like a playoff game. It felt like an upper state championship environment. People were on the edge of their seats. They were standing up, loud, engaged. And for Burns in the fourth quarter to have an opportunity, I thought the self-inflicting penalties and the wounds that they did to themselves really cost them an opportunity, because with a football and just a few minutes to play, Burns goes down. If they were to score there, the game's out of reach. It's a 2-score game, right? And that football game's over. But you have to credit Irmo, all the credit in the world to them. 2 years in a row, they've gotten the Rebels. This is a really good Irmo team. Now Alex Burns starts the season 1-1, goes into a bye week on Friday, a very early bye for the Rebels before they have their last tune-up of non-region against Greer. And then they start region play with Wade Hampton and Dorman right off the bat.
Yeah, and, I think if you're Burns, you look at, you're going into your bye week at probably a really opportune time if you're Burns and Reggie Shaw, just given the fact of, losing the game last night in the fashion that you did, and it says, or it gives you a chance now to kind of look at what needs to be improved on.
Yeah.
And granted, no disrespect to Greer and Will Young and his team over there at Dooley Field, but Greer's the mascot might be the same, but they're not Irmo.
I'm telling you,
and so
a few teams. And I don't know if Irmo's lower state again this year.
I think they are. Yeah.
They'll be in the state championship.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be. I'm telling you, they'll be playing close to the state championship. If they're lower state, no disrespect to those lower state teams, but that Irmo team is legit. And I'm telling you, they're going to make another run. I will say, Burns going into the bye week, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Really good timing, obviously, to your point. Having lost that game, that loss is going to stick with you now 1 week longer. So I think that's going to be a good opportunity for them to get better. And I think Lane Fowler, who does my color commentary on Friday nights on the Burns broadcast, I think Lane said it best. And there's a couple of schools in our region, Spartanburg, Gaffney in the first week, and Burns 2 weeks in a row, who have done this. I think Lane said it best last night when he said, as a coach, you really want to know where you are, and you're not going to know where you are by playing cream puffs.
Yeah.
Burns certainly has not played cream puffs. Spartanburg certainly hadn't played cream puffs. Gaffney played a really good independence team. So, yeah, the fans may look at it and say, well, it's a loss, but I'm telling you, you'd much rather have that kind of loss with a really good competitive team like Burns had against Irmo last night than a 55-0 win over a team that you really don't learn a lot about. So, good game last night. Again, it was an incredible game to watch and call. I know we had a huge audience. My phone, we were the last game, I think, to finish, and the text messages kept pouring in from people who were listening to that one last night. So we appreciate all of you who did catch the broadcast. Hour number 2 of the show coming your way. We'll be joined in 5 minutes by Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines, next on the Fan Upstate.
Mike will be hot in 3 seconds.
Some interviews from
Mike is hot.
South Carolina School football.
Powered by Founders Federal Credit Union, official credit union of the Saturday Morning Scramble, and your local Ingles Market.
It's the Saturday morning scramble on the fan upstairs.
Hour number 2 of the show coming right at you. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. We're live this morning in Travelers Rest, 1500 Gear Highway in Travelers Rest. We're at different Ingles Markets every Saturday morning. The Saturday Morning Scramble brought to you by Ingles Markets as well as Founders Federal Credit Union. Appreciate both of them each and every week. We'll continue the conversation right now. We've already talked to Scoot Watson this morning, the head coach at Greenville. Talked to John Boggs over at Blue Ridge as well. Now let's talk a little Woodruff Wolverine football as the Wolverines have had another great night, and we're joined by Brett Sloan, the head coach of the Woodruff Wolverines right now. Coach, congratulations on another win last night. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. Thanks, Bo. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Coach, you look at where we are in the very short-lived season, right? Woodruff, a lot of hype around you guys going into the season. 46-27 win over Fountain Inn last night. What was it about Fountain Inn that you felt like as a head football coach maybe concerned you a little bit during the week as you were doing your game planning?
I mean, I think they're a good football team, you know, and they're led by a really good, a really good quarterback, and you know, he'd be one of the best players that we'll see all season, and his ability to, you know, extend plays with his legs and make throws from the pocket on time. He's a very complete player. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. You know, they're never out of it when he's in there. You know,
Yeah.
ability. I don't know how many third times they can throw the last night, but he either made. He broke the pocket, and you know, we lost somebody in coverage, and he finds them. You know, and it just that worried me. You know, I thought they were not bad. They were good on the D-line. They were fast and physical. They gave our run game some problems for a while, and we were able to kind of get things fixed, and get Aiden going a little bit. You know, but you know, they got a good football team. Coach Nichols and all those guys, they do a great job. I have respect for them. The way they built that program is impressive.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So,
Very quickly, and it's I still call it a new school over at Fountain Inn. You mentioned Aiden Gibson, Coach. We'll get to him in a minute, but there's been a lot of hype, you know, going into the season, even from what he did last year around Aiden Gibson. Who are some other guys that you feel like have had really solid weeks in the first 2 weeks of the season, but also you feel like may continue to have their name called as the season goes on?
I mean, Dre Jenkins had a big night last night for us. Caught a touchdown pass, you know, 40 motes. Caught a touchdown pass. You know, there was several guys. Cam Taylor. We're getting him going right now as far as touches and things go. We're working to do that, but he's doing a phenomenal job for us in the run game, as a tight end, as a blocker, and all those things. Doing a lot of things that, you know, people don't see. So those guys had big nights. You know, I thought, you know, we have some guys like Jordan Hood and Adrian Gill who had big nights for us on the D-line. Sean Graybill played a good game. You know, there's a long list of guys. Josh Ruiz has been excellent on kickoffs. You know, we're kind of winning the field position battle right now, but it's just been it was a good team win.
And, Coach, you talk about, by the way, we're joined by Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. Coach, the first 2 games, Chesney last week, and then obviously last night's win for you guys over Fountain Inn. 2 different teams, but good competition from both of them. What are you as a head coach? What's your goal? What do you want to accomplish? Obviously, you want to win the game, but when you talk about these non-region games, getting you ready for region play, how do you schedule? What do you look for in these early matchups?
You want to play good people, you know, because you find out quickly where you are, you know, when you do that. And, you know, we had a great opener with Clinton last week. You know, followed that a good time win for you, and so schematically they're different, you know. So just the diversity of the things that you have to face and then, you know, help, you know, as far as evaluating things you're doing and evaluating your personnel and all those things. So, and right now the biggest thing for us is to continue to get our inexperienced players on offense, you know, up to speed. You know, there's some things that we're pretty experienced on defense. I think 10 or 11 starters are seniors, so that's so that they played some football and they're mature and you know, you can go on the offense and we love our players. We think that they're really talented. I think we got some good guys. I think they're big, fast, strong. But we got 5 new starting offensive linemen, a starting quarterback, and a couple guys, the receiver who are starting for the first time. So, you know, we're a work in progress there, you know, with some explosive ability. But, you know, I think that part is going to get better and better as the year goes along. So,
Coach, last question for you. You're 2-0, which means you've done everything perfect, right? There's no mistakes, nothing to work on, nothing to get better at. Obviously, I'm kidding there, but when you look at this record, obviously you're excited to be 2-0. But what have you talked to your team about? What will you talk to your team about this week when it comes to things you still can improve on?
yeah, I mean, I think I kind of hit on that in the last question.
Sure.
Continue to be better. You know, offensively, we're giving up too many negative plays right now. You know, sacks and tackles for loss and things like that. So we got to clean that up, and we got to find a way to get off the field on third down a little bit better. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with playing an excellent quarterback last night, but we I felt like in stretches we played really, really good defense last night, and we just gave up a kind of a you know, what are we doing? You know, kind of third and long, you know, and it's like, so we got to clean those things up and just be a little bit more focused in some of those areas. But I'm happy where we are. We're gonna try to go 1-0 again this week. It's just a goal that 1-0 each week, and if you do that, you'll be okay. You know, so.
No doubt. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time as always. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Cole. Hope you have a great day.
Absolutely. You too. Brett Sloan, the head football coach at Woodruff. Alex, you talk about a team that's now 2-0, a lot of momentum. Obviously, he talked about the things they can do better. When you look at their slate of non-region before they get into the region play, Woodruff's one of those teams as well that always has a tough stretch before region play starts.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. I mean, you had a 21-13 win against Clinton last week. You got the big win against Fountain Inn. They go on the road for the first time next week. They are at Emerald, then they're at Woodmont. Come back home, a game against Chesney, at Wren before the region schedule starts. You know, just to
They play Chesney again. I'm sorry. I was thinking Clinton. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
He starts with a C. It starts with a C.
You
I
completely
was actually just making sure you were on your toes.
Yeah, I'm on my toes always.
Yeah.
Are you on your toes?
Right now.
That's what happens when you get 3 hours of sleep. Yeah.
And they start with a C.
Yeah, Chesney, Wren. Then they open the region slate with Broome all the way on October 3rd.
Yeah.
That seems so far away from now.
Did I say Chesney during the interview as well?
Probably. I don't know.
Maybe I did. If I did, I apologize. Clinton last week. It was Clinton that Woodruff beat. Starts with a C.
Woodruff beat Clinton last week.
Yeah.
They played Chesney.
We thought we played Chesney last week. I don't know if
He's never going to come on the show again.
I'm so tired that I actually don't even remember if I said Clinton or Chesney, but nonetheless.
Do you know who you just talked to?
Yes.
Okay.
You.
Okay. Yes.
Before that, Brett Sloan. Next,
Okay. Yeah.
Robert Muster, the
Yeah.
football coach at Powdersville. Man, what a big, big win. Powdersville over Abbeville last night, and what a big win for those guys, 36-22. We are joined right now by Robert Muster on the Fan Upstate. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm sure you're doing a little bit better, a little bit easier to wake up on a Saturday after a big win.
Much easier. You know, win seems to kill a bunch.
It does.
And you know, we're happy, obviously, but you know, we're gonna enjoy this one until
till Labor Day, we go out there and start practicing, getting ready for our next opponent. But and if I sound like I got in at 5 in the morning, because I got in at 5 in the morning.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to join us. It's okay. I was a little earlier than you at 3 a.m., so I might have got an hour or two sleep more than you did. We're joined by Robert Muster, the head football coach at Powdersville. Coach, last night, 36-22 over Abbeville. Big win, and I know you guys are playing down in the classification, but this is Abbeville you're playing. You've got idiots like me who picked Abbeville to win the game, right? Abbeville don't lose many regular season games. What went into preparation from a loss in week 0 for you guys to be able to bounce back the way you did last night?
Well, first thing you said was, I mean, you're looking at, you did play down in the classification, but if you want to get busted right in the mouth and get tested early on in the season to see what the makeup of your team is and you know, how you're going to respond to different adversity, then you probably want to schedule an Abbeville on your, you know, in the non-region before you get the region play. But that team, they do things the right way. You know, I said this the first time we ever played them at their place. What was it, 3 years ago? I mean, you feel the tradition.
Sure.
You go in there and you see all the state championships, you know, that are labeled out there on the side of their field house. And every year they won, and it can be a little intimidating, to be honest with you. And I will tell you that I think that it doesn't matter. Classification is just a number. You can put 11 guys out there on the field. Now, do we have more kids to pick from our building? Sure. But they've got a tradition, and I think it's contagious in that town, and it's just got one of those small town feels. Now that's not what you asked, but I don't care if you're 1A. I don't
Sure, absolutely.
Like that to me is football's football, and they do a great job of it, and we will test it. But what you did ask me was, what do we do from 1 week, you know, to make improvements and for this week? And I mean, it's simple. Cut out mistakes. You know, we had 2 turnovers in the first game that we played against Seneca. We played sloppy. We had a bunch of penalties. We were getting in our own way, shooting ourselves in the foot. You can't win games doing that. So I don't know. You know, at the time, a week ago, would I have taken a win? Of course. If I had a time machine, would I go back and do some things differently? Of course. But you know, I also think sometimes you get some false confidence if you're winning games and you shouldn't have been. So probably in hindsight or whatever, the probably the best thing could have happened to our team is don't reward us with a win with a win whenever we you know, maybe didn't deserve it last week, and we had to really come out and do a better job this week.
Coach, what was it that Abbeville did last night that did challenge you? Obviously, you guys came out on top. You talked about how tough Abbeville is. I mean, you look back over 5 years. Alex Guest, am I right? Just pulled it up. Only 5 regular season, or excuse me, only. Here you go. Let's go back even 10 years. Only 7 regular season losses since 2015. So last night was Abbeville's 7th regular season loss since 2015, which is just incredible for you guys to go and beat Abbeville last night. What was it that you did see that challenged you last night, but on the flip side, some of the areas where you guys had the advantage?
Well, I think that it's a case of 2 teams, 2 totally different styles of football.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that have our brand of offense, which is, you know, traditionally a spread type. And then you look at what they do offensively, and it's, you know, a lot more compact. You don't have that many teams that, you know, run their variation offense. So I think that's the test for both teams. They don't get to see, you know, us, what we do on a day-to-day in practice, where for us, if we're getting ready for a team that's spread, doesn't make things easier, but it's just, man, it's not as much has to go into, you know, trying to focus on stop and run. All of a sudden, they lull you to sleep, and they're trying to hit one deep on you.
Yeah.
It's not a team that passes a lot, but that's where you become worried. You're right, man. This is a situation where, guys, if you can't pick it off clean, just knock the ball down. Be in good position. Don't fall asleep. And they, you know, once again, they do a fine job of what they do. But that's it. Plus, they're big and scrappy, and you know, they were able to set the tone pretty early last night. We kicked off with them, and they shoved it, down our throat. But it was very methodical. It wasn't big spurts of plays. It was, man. I looked up at the clock, and I was like, "Are we ever gonna get this ball?" It was, maybe I don't know, maybe 5 minutes left. I'm guessing something like that. By the time we finally had the ball kicked off to us, listen. If that happens and they score, then that's dangerous because now if we don't, produce on the other end of it, then we're going to have a hard time. And those teams a lot of times best defense is their offense. Plus they have a really good defense. But what we did well is, on offense, I felt like our coaching staff did a great job this week in preparation. Coach Stewart, our offensive coordinator, he called a heck of a game last night. We were able to get guys in space, and they didn't have to be long shots downfield. There was some intermediate passing, some stuff behind the line of scrimmage, sprinkle in a little bit of running game, and I think it was very balanced. And then defensively, our coordinator Stephen Memmer does a great job, and his guys. I mean, we got a lot of kids wanting to be on that defense side of the ball. There's a lot of it's a good little culture that's going on over there. And we had 2 turnovers, so that helps us.
Coach, before,
I don't know.
yeah. Sorry to cut you off there. Before we let you go, looking ahead next Friday, I know you probably hadn't watched any film yet on Wren, but a little bit of a rivalry game at your place next Friday night. I know your guys are probably juiced up for that one.
Yeah, that's the say the least. Whenever we say rivalry, and it's different because our kids they live in the same community.
That's right.
We're the school that branched off from them, and and it's always been pretty hectic. Maybe is a good word because our kids. This is one that I'm not sure about Coach Freight and his kids, but at least me, I feel like my kids get so out of their mind. You got to kind of settle them down a little bit, and I don't know. A lot of times it has that feel of like you're getting ready for a playoff, something like that, and we'll play them, and win or lose, then you got to dial it back in. It's almost like they get really, really up for this one. So it's kind of a weird thing in the middle of the season. Whenever the next week we got a game then too, guys. Now we're gonna have that same energy for that game. And sometimes you need to take a deep breath and go out there, relax, and just play. Try not to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, don't let it lead to 2. And it's a mental thing, I think, a lot of times when it comes to this game we're getting ready to play.
Well, Coach, congratulations again on the win last night. As always, we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I appreciate what you do and what you do for our kids.
Absolutely. Robert Muster, the head football coach at Powdersville. We'll take our first break of hour number 2, come back, continue the conversation. A lot of games last night still to get into. We'll do that next right here on the Fan Upstate.
This is a Saturday morning scramble.
Mike is hot in 3 seconds.
Federal Credit Union.
Mike is hot.
This is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Texter from the 978 says, call another big win for Landrum last night. Next week, play 2-0 Ware Shoals, who have wins over teams in 2A. What's your early thoughts on that one? Look, I like where Landrum's at. And Alex, you and I were talking about this before we went on the air this morning. Landrum, first-year head coach Mike Reed, to come out 2-0 in the season, to start the season 2-0, it's huge. Ware Shoals is going to be interesting in terms of how they match up against Ware Shoals. But, boy, you like what Landrum's done offensively 2 weeks in a row. Landrum's really lit up the scoreboard pretty well.
Yeah, 20-13 last week against Walhalla, 39-0 last night against Berea, and then you mentioned it. I mean, you got Ware Shoals next week.
Big game.
Where's
that game at?
That is at Ware Shoals.
Ah, man. I was going to say,
have you ever been to their stadium?
I don't know if I've ever been to Ware Shoals. Where's Shoals? Tell me where. Where Shoals?
Where Shoals?
Clemson area?
Middle of nowhere.
Is it Clemson?
Yeah, it's kind of out toward that direction, yeah.
Is it? Or no?
Yeah.
I've never to answer your question. I've never been. I'm sure I've driven through Ware Shoals.
Nifty little place. Nifty town.
If it was at Landrum, I am off next Friday. And
You are, yeah.
I could just roll over to Landrum.
Yeah.
See what's up?
No.
I'm going to be there. I'll be the only one there. I don't know where I'm going to go Friday. I'm looking at Dorman Greenwood. That's a
that'd be a good
big
one.
game.
Yeah.
Big game at Dorman. A lot of games to get to. We'll try to make some early leans on games happening next Friday night. Alex, you were at Gaffney J.L. Man last night. We mentioned it early in the show. I want to say congratulations to Donnie Littlejohn for his first win as a head football coach at Gaffney. Many more to come, we are sure, for Donnie Littlejohn. But 28-0 win last night over J.L. Man. Just a kind of take care of business game, if you will, for Gaffney. Yeah. What did you see last night?
Yeah, well, it looked like, Gaffney's got a new defensive scheme this year. They are typically in the 3-4. Last night, they moved into, at one point, a 4-3 cover 2 kind of defensive scheme. So, changed things up last night. After years and years and years of seeing a Bryce Smiley defense, it's a little bit different to see a different Gaffney defense out there. But then
you saw Bryce Smiley.
I saw a Bryce Smiley defense, and it was a Bryce Smiley defense if I've ever seen one in J.O. Man. I mean, they were swarming the ball as much as they possibly could. But Gaffney, no disrespect to J.O. Man, Gaffney was just more athletic and faster than Man was last night.
By the way, new rule I think they should put in place at least twice a year, maybe every game, maybe every week. The black and gold, like last night, the Gaffney wore. That's got to be more. That's got to be worn more often.
There are a ton of people that do not like the black jersey and the gold pants.
Why?
And I think
that's the best look.
I think the people that do not like it are the people that do not like the history of Gaffney football.
That is
because you go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's what Gaffney was wearing week in and week out.
I saw those highlights this morning. Whenever I saw them on News Channel. That's the best jersey Gaffney has. The best combo.
I love it. It's old school feel.
I love it.
I think everybody just wants the black on black on black on black on black. And they feel like it's intimidating.
That's fine.
But I love the black and gold look. I don't like the white and gold, when they're on the road. I don't think that looks as sharp. But, last night wise,
still 2 quarterbacks last night. Banks and
still 2 quarterbacks last night, yeah. But I'll tell you, in last week's game against Independence, it never seemed like either quarterback was in the game long enough for consecutive enough drives to really get into a rhythm, get into a routine. Last night, Javon, starter for Gaffney, came in, and I think his first pass of the game actually was to Banks, because Banks can play that wideout position. But, last night, Javon was your starter, and he played, I think, the first 3 drives of the game, got into a good rhythm. Gaffney got pinned deep in their own territory on a great J.O. Man play. I think J.O. Man had over 300 some odd yards punting last night on like 6 punts.
Wow.
Something. And So Banks comes in. Great runner is Banks Bowden, and gets Gaffney in plus territory and takes a drive downfield for a touchdown. Gaffney up 21-0 at the half. And then the second half was really just kind of cruise control. And, I think I mentioned it at one point. I feel like I fell asleep during the fourth quarter because
everybody else told me it was boring.
there was nothing happening in the second half. But both quarterbacks for Gaffney, Banks, Belton, and Javon Gilmore, looked really impressive last night against J.O. Mann and really looked like they made a ton of improvements, both of them, from week 0 to week 1.
Yeah, I will say it was interesting to hear on the Gaffney broadcast on WZZQ last night, the post-game interview. Donnie Littlejohn said that he plans by region play to make a decision at quarterback in terms of going with one guy. So that's interesting because Gaffney has, one non-region game left, right?
Non-region game left at Serene next year.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting, man. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We've seen both play preseason, both play this season so far, and what they do. How about the start of the season? Start to the season that Peanut Bailey's had, Alex. I mean, last week a punt block, right? This week he just takes the ball from a guy and runs all the way back. I mean,
the funny thing about that play is it happened literally right in front of me.
Yeah,
on the 25-yard line, happened right in front of me, and he started running the other direction, and I'm sitting there like, why? Is he just celebrating getting a tackle? Because you couldn't see the football. He had it so well hidden and so well placed in his arms, and then he just keeps running, and I was like, oh my goodness, he has the football.
He does.
And just, it wasn't a fumble. Just literally like taking candy from a baby. This is mine.
Good player.
Yeah.
Also last night, we mentioned Wren 50-21 over Easley. We also talked Scoot Watson 28-0 win for Greenville over Riverside. Alex, I was surprised by this 30-21 Clover over Hillcrest. I picked Hillcrest. You picked Clover. I was surprised to see Hillcrest go on the road and lose that one last night. Also, really surprised by this one. Malden 21, Boiling Springs 14.
Yeah.
Boiling Springs is young. We've talked about it. We know that, especially offensively. But, man, to lose to Malden last night, I think from the people I talked to last night and this morning, kind of sent shockwaves. I mean, this is a Boiling Springs team a season ago that was really, really good. Yeah. And no disrespect to Malden. No disrespect at all. Andre Cook's done a really good job up there trying to get that program back on track. But when you look at all the games last night, Boiling Springs falling to Malden, I think maybe the biggest surprise.
Yeah, that was a really big surprise, Cole. I mean, you talk about this game last year was 31-12 at Boiling Springs. And Malden, again, you mentioned it, Malden really had fallen on tough times. I mean, they were a team that just 2 years ago in 2023 went winless. 22, they only had one win. And here comes Andre Cook, and he's already halfway to that win total that they had last year with an entire season in front of them. But, I mean, they've got a really good Fountain Inn team coming in this week, a game that they lost. It was pretty competitive. I think it was like a 10-point game last year or something like that. So, again, Malden on the up and up. Boiling Springs, I think maybe just kind of ran into a really scrappy and wanting to win Malden team last night.
Dorman defeats Catawba Ridge last night 30-7. Dorman starts the season with a nice spot, or in a nice spot, rather, Alex. 2-0 after their week 0 win over Greenville. Last night's win over Catawba Ridge. They got Grayson off the schedule. They have Greenwood on Friday. I think Greenwood will be a little bit tougher of a test than Greenville and Catawba Ridge were for Dorman. No offense to those two programs, but Dorman getting off to a 2-0 start. Boy, did Jake Morris need that 2-0 start to get things kicked off in 2025.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're very much in a good spot if you're Dorman because, again, you got Grayson out of Georgia off the schedule. They had, 13 D1 players on their team, 13 D1 starters last year when they went down there and just got shellacked by Grayson. You got Catawba Ridge, not a bad Catawba Ridge team out of the Rock Hill area. Again, that's a team that we don't really hear a lot about in our coverage area, but 30-7 win. You got Greenwood next week. That ended up being a one-score game last year, and then you open the region schedule with Riverside here in a few weeks on the 19th of September, and then you're really off to the races. But if you're Dorman, you're in a really good spot because you played two. I mean, I think Greenville just, again, we heard from Scoot Watson earlier in the show. I think Greenville's just had a bad week last week and getting their footing going.
While a team like Dorman's 2-0, a team like Spartanburg starting the season 0-2 after losses to Northwestern and Dutch Fork last night, 54-21. I know the score's lopsided, but I do want to credit Spartanburg for keeping that game close for the most part.
Yeah.
Late third quarter, fourth quarter, Dutch Fork pulled away. But, Alex, that was a game where Spartanburg was in it. And you're talking about going into the game with quarterback Trey Burke still kind of questionable day-to-day. He rolled his ankle back in that scrimmage, a couple weeks ago at Gaffney. And then last week didn't play. First game, for Burke. I don't know how much he played last night. I hadn't seen the full stats yet. But for Spartanburg, I mean, they're 0-2, but who's more battle-tested right now than the Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, no one, Cole. I mean, you talk about a team that starts the season playing two defending state champions. I don't think you get any tougher than that. And two teams that are ranked in the top 3 of the 5A classification. I think, well, we know Dutch Fork's number 1. I think Northwestern is number 3, number 1 or number 2 or number 3 this week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you played a really good game in the first 2.5 quarters, and then it just seemed like Dutch Fork was got the better of you last night in the third and fourth quarter.
Last one I want to mention, then we'll highlight all the scores one more time before we move ahead and look ahead to week 2. But how about Broome Chesney last night?
Yeah.
Big shout out to Broome, Lynn Fleming, the Centurions. 35-34. Broome started off the season, 0-1.
Yep.
Chesney started off 1-0 after a win against Pendleton. And I picked Chesney last night. I think you did as well, right? You picked Chesney to beat Broome.
Yeah.
We both picked Chesney. And for Broome to come out 35-34 win over Chesney says a lot. It says a lot about Lynn Fleming's group to be able to rebound and respond in the way that they did because, Chesney's a tough out. We've talked about how good they've been this year, and that's the game that went into overtime last night. So hats off to Broome. Sounded like that was one of the better games of the night, and I just think that says a lot about Broome being able to bounce back and get that win.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. I mean, Broome, both of us really, I mean, obviously we picked Chesney, but both of us really kind of left last week's show thinking Chesney's going to maybe boat race Broome. I mean, that was my thought, was Chesney's going to boat race Broome, and for about a quarter and a half, it looked like Chesney might do that, and then Broome started kind of got the gears going and figured things out.
Yeah, Booker was really good last night. By the way, it was a 10-yard run by Lauder in overtime to almost tie the game. So that game went in overtime. It was 35-28. Lauder for Chesney scored from 10 yards out, 35-34. Chesney goes for 2 and doesn't get it. 2-point conversion failed. Final score 35-34. What an instant classic that one was last night between Broome and Chesney. So a lot of really good games last night and a lot of adversity for a lot of these teams in the upstate. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. We'll take an early break, come back, and we'll spend the last segment looking ahead to week 2. It's the third game for most teams, but week 0 was last week. Week 1 was last night. So now it's officially week 2 in South Carolina. We'll look at the biggest games next week, next on the Fan Upstate.
Mike is hot in 3 seconds. Mike is hot.
Saturday morning scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Final segment of the Saturday Morning Scramble. I want to say thanks to Ingles Markets as well as Founders Federal Credit Union for sponsoring the Saturday Morning Scramble. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. And if you would like to get in on the conversation, your last chance to do so, 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open. We've talked a lot about what happened last night. We've talked to several coaches. Alex, let's turn the page and look at week 2. Another full slate of games happening 6 days from today, Friday night. And you know what? You and I were just talking about this during the break. Some tough ones to pick here. I mean, we've got some games that could go either way. There's some really, really good games happening on Friday night in the Upstate.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. I mean, you talk about the one game I'll be at, Gaffney at Greenville. I mean, Gaffney 1-1, Greenville 1-1 to start the season. Greenville, if you would have asked me to pick this game Thursday of this past week, I would have confidently said Gaffney. But then after what Greenville did last night and Scoot Watson and his team shutting out Riverside 28-0, now I'm kind of going back and forth on that. Both of us are trying to figure out who to pick in the Greenwood Dorman game. Greer Hillcrest, I mean,
Yeah.
You go down the list: Malden, Fountain Inn, Hannah, Westside, Chapman and Boiling Springs, Riverside, Christchurch. I mean, there's a slate of just games that are difficult to sit here and try to pick. And I mean, you're feverishly going through and trying to get your picks in, and I know midweek you'll text me and say,
I'll
taking that pick.
I'll change half of them
Yeah.
by Wednesday.
And by the time you get to Friday, you're going to have every single one changed about seven times.
I second guess myself a lot. Somebody mentioned that Ware Shoals Landrum game.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
That is.
2-0. Two teams that are 2-0.
Who's going to win? That's the game you should go to, honestly.
I don't know where Ware Shoals is.
Just put it in your GPS. And
my GPS knows where Ware Shoals is. All right, let's do it from right here.
here we go.
Where we're at.
Ware Shoals.
From where we're sitting. Melissa Level of Ingles. Do you know where Shoals is? See, nobody knows where Ware Shoals
It's it's like
You've heard of it, have you? 43 miles. It's not anywhere near here.
it's like the Honey Path. It's down below Honey Path.
You start talking about towns named Hodges, Donalds. I mean, that just
Shoals Junction. You got that on there?
Erskine?
Shoals Junction. Yeah, Erskine's in Due West.
So it's near. Okay.
Yeah.
So between Greenwood and trees.
Between
Wow.
Greenwood and here, somewhere closer to Greenwood.
Good God. I tell you what, man, I don't know how they were found Ware Shoals. So that's a big one, though. That's a big one. You mentioned a few other ones. Let me look one more time here. Gaffney Greenville at Serene Stadium.
Uh-huh.
Greenwood Dorman, I think, is really interesting. That's a big one next week.
It is.
Greenwood's got some D1 guys on their roster. So does Dorman. Dorman's 2-0, and Alex Dorman hasn't played in a close game this year. They allowed 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. Am I right on that?
You are.
One touchdown.
Sure, you're
They
right.
blanked
Yeah.
Greenville a week ago. Catawba Ridge scored 7 last night.
Yep, 7 last night.
Dorman's defense has been incredible to start the season. I do think that one could be sneaky good. Maybe a low-scoring slobber knocker between Greenwood and Dorman. It's in Roebuck. I think that could be a little
Weird place to play.
Yeah, is it? Well, let's see. Greer Hillcrest. I think that game's intriguing. Very intriguing. You have Hillcrest, who just lost last night. Greer showed signs of life last week against Bowling Springs, right?
Yeah.
I know they came out on the wrong end of things last night against BHP, but that's an interesting game. Malden, Fountain Inn. How in the world do you pick that game? Sam Holliday for Fountain Inn's been so good. Andre Cook and those guys last night for Malden just beat Bowling Springs.
Mhm.
That's a tough game to pick. Hannah Westside. I mean, my gosh, can you get any bigger than Hannah Westside, Alex, in week 2? That's a big one. Chapman, Bowling Springs. Who do you lean? Who do you lean right now on the spot, Chapman, Bowling Springs?
Chapman, Boiling Springs. I'm leaning.
That's what I'm saying.
Boiling Springs.
By how much?
By the hair
Okay,
on
you don't
my
know.
chin after
We're
I
not confident.
freshly shaven.
We're not confident in what we're saying. Bowling Springs, Chapman's really interesting. Bowling Springs trying to rebound after last night's win or loss to Malden. Chapman's 0-2.
Yeah.
This one's.
But here's the thing. Again, if you would have asked me on Thursday this past week, I would have leaned heavily Boiling Springs.
I know. It's amazing how a week can change things. I'll tell you another good one. Riverside Christ Church.
Yeah.
That's at Christ Church. That's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
And I think Christ Church has a chance to win that game.
I think so, too.
Jude Hall and those guys, man, like they're going to be tough. Riverside, how they bounce back after a tough loss last time. I know they're, a little bit higher in classification, but I still think that could be a good one over at Christ Church. Bloom, Spartanburg. Maybe Spartanburg gets their first win. Woodruff Emerald, BHP Lawrence next week. Rivalry game. We already talked about this one. Maybe the biggest in this area. A rivalry game between Wren and Powdersville.
Wren and Powdersville, yeah. I mean, that's a game, and I was trying to find earlier, Cole, and my internet went out on me. I was trying to find earlier, and this is great radio, I know, the all-time record between those two teams is 5-5.
Oh, wow. How about that?
So
not a lot of history because Robert Muster earlier in the show mentioned it. They pulled off.
Yeah, they played every year since 2016.
Okay.
So 5-5. Wren has won the last two. But it's been a pretty good series going back and forth.
That could be a good one, man. Yeah. That could be a really good one Friday with Powdersville coming off of that big win over Abbeville last night. Wren's really good. We talked to those guys last week, Alex, at the Eagles over there in Powdersville. That's a fun one. If I were closer to that one, that'd be a good game to go to. That's going to be.
We're going to Wren Shoals.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. I might not ever come back. Let's see what else next week. Chesney Walhalla is a big one. St. Joe's is at Mountain View. Blacksburg is at Chase.
Will that be the first home game for Mountain View at North Greenville?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe that's right.
Landrum Ware Shoals, we mentioned. Abbeville trying to bounce back at Batesburg, Leesville. I don't know, man. There's some really good ones on Friday. Really, really good ones. And I think this could be, last night was the night for upsets. We had, there's not lines on these high school football games, but if there were, I think you would have had a lot of upsets last night.
Blacksburg is at Chase out of North Carolina. I will give you the rest of my donut if you can tell me what Chase stands for.
You told me this one time. And I don't want the rest of your donut, by the way. Okay. But I Charter. Start with Charter?
No.
Chasing?
No.
Give me a hint.
It's it's an acronym.
Okay, give me a hint. I mean,
for the city names around, not the city names, the community names.
Chesney?
No, not Chesney. No.
All right, tell me what it is.
No, it's Cliffside, Caroline, Henrietta.
You just said two names that start with a C.
Yeah, I know.
It's not.
There's two C's, two H's, and A and S.
A-S-E.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's
you don't even know what it is.
Cliffside, Caroline, Henrietta. There's another H in there. Hillside, Avondale.
Are you making this up?
No. Avondale. I can't remember what the S is, and then the E. Get this?
Avondale.
Oh.
Avondale.
Yeah. The S is for something else, and then the E literally means everybody else.
Who told you this?
Chase High School. Actually,
Jim Cosby, by the way. Jim Cosby, the former coach at Crest, now at Chase. And that one's, you said it, at home. Blacksburg making their way up there. Early lanes, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Wade Hampton easily, early lane.
Okay, Wade Hampton easily.
Early lane, Gaffney, Greenville.
Gaffney.
I'm with you, 2-0 so far. No disagreement. Early lane, Greenwood, Dorman. Yeah, I think I'll lean Dorman, but, man, I just think that Greenwood could kind of muck this game up, kind of just dirty this game up in a way to keep it close.
Okay.
I'll say this. If Dorman wins this game like they've won the first two, I'll really be impressed. Yeah, I really will.
Yeah.
If they win this one. Greer, oh, man, this one's tough for me. Greer Hillcrest. Your early lane's Hillcrest, I would assume?
My early lane's Hillcrest only because it's at Hillcrest. I think if it were at Dewey, I might would early lane Greer.
Early lane J.O. man at Daniel. Daniel's probably going to bounce back in my mind.
Yeah.
After a loss to Stratford last night.
Yep.
Early lean Malden, Fountain Inn.
Malden.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll lean Fountain Inn. I think Sam Holiday's maybe one of the best players on the field in this matchup. Early lean, the Yellow Jackets of Teohana West Side.
Yeah, give me the Rams, West Side.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I asked you about Bowling Springs Chapman. In all seriousness, though, doesn't that kind of feel like a game that both teams all of a sudden like really need?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's very much a game. I mean, obviously, if you're Chapman, you're trying really hard to get in that win column. And then if you're, well, I guess did Chapman win last night? I'm blanking.
Lost by one.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, if you're Chapman, you're trying really hard to get in that win column. If you're Boiling Springs, you're trying really hard to bounce back after a game that you probably shouldn't have lost last night.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's an interesting game, man. I really do. Let's see here. Looking ahead. There's some good ones, man. There are some really good games. Where were we? Christchurch, Riverside. Your early
lead's going to be Matthew Rochester and the Riverside Warriors.
Yeah, like I could see that game going either way.
Yeah,
I really could. You going? You leaning Spartanburg over Broome?
I'm going to lean Spartanburg over Broome. I think Spartanburg. We mentioned it. They're so battle tested right now.
No doubt.
I think they're going to get that one.
No doubt. I'm with you there. This is going to be a good one, man. We just mentioned it a few minutes ago. Big rivalry game. Who's your early lean here, Wren or Powdersville?
I got to go Wren.
See, I'm leaning Powdersville early. That's going to be a good game. Huge crowd, I'm sure. Rivalry games, same neighboring, schools.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun. Let's see here. Travelers Rest, Palma. Chesney Wahala. You think the Chesney Eagles bounce back in week 2?
Ooh. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I think they do. I'm going to lean Chesney early on that one. My pick may change midweek.
This one could be sneaky good. Newberry coming up to Clinton.
Ooh.
Not a far trip.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah,
26.
not a far trip.
I lean Clinton, but maybe that could be a sneaky game to watch.
What did Newberry do last night?
The Bulldogs last night.
Bulldogs, 45-0 over Mid-Carolina.
Yeah.
Newberry, 62-14, 45-0. That's been their first 2 games. Union County and Mid-Carolina. The coach at Newberry is it's somebody. It's Cedric Jeter. Cedric Jeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cedric Jeter. Okay.
Cedric Jeter.
How about that? Those are your early leans. I like it. A lot of good games, man. Yeah. I, again, you said it. I'll change mine 9 times between now and next week. But a lot of good games on the docket next Friday night. I want to say thanks again to Scoot Watson.
Yep.
John Boggs, head coach at Blue Ridge. Scoot now at Greenville for joining us in the first hour. Help me make sure I don't miss anybody. Brett Sloan of Woodruff. Robert Muster of Powdersville for joining us this morning.
Jam-packed show.
Yeah, jam-packed. Did I miss anybody?
Melissa Level.
Melissa. Yep, she's the best. She's on the way to Furman, who kicks off the no good college football games today, right?
No good college games. I think college football really starts next week.
I mean, is there anything to watch today?
I don't think so. Clemson LSU. That's probably not. No.
Ah, my goodness, I'm so excited. 12 o'clock, just 2 hours from now, we'll get Ohio State, Texas. It's a jam-packed day today. Melissa Level, Florida State score prediction, real quick before we go off the air. Can you give me a score prediction? Wow.
24-21 Florida State.
Did you hear that? Melissa Level.
I'm here for it.
Who is a Florida State alum? Rightfully so. Is going 24-21. I like it. Win more. I hope so.
Win 3 games.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Appreciate Melissa Level and the folks at Ingles every single Saturday, all the time. Ingles is the absolute best. Make sure you visit your local Ingles today, as there's a lot of football to choose from. We'll do it again next week, as we will be live.
Warren H. Abernathy.
How about that? The west side of Spartanburg. We'll be on the west side of the Berg next Saturday morning. So if you're around the west side of Spartanburg, hop by, hop in, come by, have a little breakfast with us, chat a little high school football with us. We'll do it again next Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m.
Labor Day weekend.
You too on the Fan Upstate.